Happy New Year! It's 2023. Welcome back to my live series. I'm going to share with you guys today something that I love to do all the time, actually. But I try to do it on the regular whenever I'm feeling out of sorts, if I'm trying to start something new, if I'm revisiting, um, you know, the, something that I'm undertaking. And there's no better time than the beginning of the year to go back and check on your core values. Now, I know in business they always talk about, the heart of a business is the mission, vision, and core values. And I don't know why they say vision, mission, and core values. The first step is core values. If you don't know what your core values are, how are you going to know what your mission is? How are you going to know where your vision goes? Everything comes back to core values. Core values is what define us as a human being. It's where we grow up with. We get taught by our parents. What influences us by our experiences. Core values, by the word, are the core of who we are. And I find most of us, myself included, just kind of meander through life without really taking the time to understand their own personal core values. And here's the problem with that. This will lead you down the wrong path every time. Your core values, the way I like to think about it, is a North Star. Your core values is really your compass. It lets you know when you're heading in the right direction or when you're not. If you're aligned with your core values, things feel good. If you're misaligned with your core values, there's going to be resistance. You're not going to enjoy the process, and you're probably either going to fail at it or mess it up in some way, or the results are going to be non-optimal. But when you're moving forward with your core values, regardless of the situation, you're always going to feel better about the choices that you made. So this year, kick off your new year right. You're probably 1 week into your resolution. You're going to scrap the resolution. My one coach actually said 9% of resolutions actually come to fruition throughout the year. But the core values is an exercise you can do right now, and you can use it to check in with yourself daily, right? This is something that can help keep you on track through the year. So for January, I want to bring it back to basics. I'm going to give you guys kind of the basics that I feel are necessary for you to have stability in your life and to be able to use as a platform for growth. Very, very first skill, very, very first exercise, core values. So, because I do this regularly, I have kind of a, I'm just going to pull them off my wall here. It's kind of like my core value sheets. Um, and they change. This is what I always find interesting is that core values change. It's not that they're stuck and they're always going to be there. Hey, Dennis, how's it going? Thanks for chiming in. It's not that they're stuck and that they're always going to be there the way that you see it. They do evolve as you evolve. And I've noticed, if I'm going to do a little comparison here, my number one core value, and it has been ever since I've been doing this, are relationships. It's why I do what I do. It's why I got into coaching. It's why I mentor people at work. It's why, um, I care so much about meeting new people and cultivating my friendships and maintaining my friendships in the past and relationships with my wife, my children, my family at home in Calgary. Relationships are my number one, and they always have been. What's interesting is last year when I did my core values, my number two was growth, which makes sense because last year I was really focused on growing my practice, growing my skills as a coach, a thought leader, really kind of diving in, listening to different voices, listening to different teachers, getting coached myself. Growth was a huge importance for me last year. Now what's interesting is this growth for me has now changed to connection. And why, like, I don't know if you even look, you just see two words, growth, connection. But for me, what that means is now I'm diving deeper. I'm looking past just me growing. I'm looking at sharing that and building those connections with other people so I can take that growth that I've gone through and now pass it along through connection. And connection and relationships really go hand in hand, which for me is it's a good feeling. It's knowing that as long as I'm going out building connection with you guys today or with somebody I meet brand new tomorrow, I can tie it back to my relationship core. Now, my fourth one, and this is another one too, was curiosity. I like to think of myself as a pretty curious person. And this evolved this year to energy. Just for me now, as I've evolved, it's not enough just to be curious. Curiosity just kind of opens the door, but I need to create the energy to walk through it. I need to create the energy in my life to execute, to take that curiosity, take that learning, and apply it. So it's like going to school. When you're in school, you're like, oh my God, I love this class. I love this course. I love this thing. Then you get to the real world, and what do you do with it? That's how I've evolved over the last year, which I think is pretty cool. Now, this was an interesting one. And I think this one is also kind of a morph of the same topic. Last year was leadership. In my job at the state, I believe that I took a leadership role. I really stepped up as a leader. I really led a lot of stuff, and I did the same thing in my coaching practice. Stepped up as a leader of myself and of my family and within my relationships, and that was really a focus for me, and I put a lot of effort and a lot of time into that. But this year, it changed and it morphed just a little bit. I think it still encompasses leadership, but it changed to significance. And what does that mean to me? That means it's just not enough for me now to just show up as a leader and to be that, because that's part of my core. That's part of who I am. I love to be a leader. I love to mentor. I love to lead people. I love to be led. But now this year, I really feel a calling to create significance. This is now is from my point, from my position of leadership, can I create significant change? Can I be and offer stuff to you, to the people around me, to my circle of influence that is significant and is valuable. And so really it's focusing on significance and creating value. And then, it's funny because the last one, and I'm going to be vulnerable here with you guys, is resilience. This is the new one that I got this year. And I think this happens to anybody. Well, I can't even spell resilience. Resilient, right? This is a new one for me. And this kind of popped up, and I don't really know why, but it resonates with me this year. And in any period of growth, in any period of change, you face a lot of resistance. And I talked about this last year with the growth cycle and how things feel as you're doing new things. But in order to truly hit the next level, in order to truly overcome an obstacle, in order to truly change and grow, you have to be resilient. And that was something that I know I need to work on even more. Something that I've really kind of scratched the surface of last year is being resilient. It's facing a failure and moving through it and embracing it and truly embodying that mindset of just keep going, 1 inch further, one step further, take one more punch. That famous Rocky soliloquy where he basically said, it's not about being who can hit the hardest, it's about how many punches can you get and keep moving forward. And I think that is a real lesson for those of us who are living a complex, composite lifestyle: work, life, hobbies, aspirations, relationships, and then expectations. Those are all really heavy things to deal with on the daily basis. And resiliency, for me, being resilient is an important part of being able to maintain my energy, to create significance, to build on connections, and to fortify my relationships. So I hope this little insight today will motivate you who's watching out there to go and do it for yourself. It's a very, very important exercise. It takes 10 minutes to do. I've put a link down below. I've created a worksheet, super easy. 10 minutes, you'll be done. And it'll give you some clarity as to where are you going this year. And maybe next year you can do it again and reflect back on where you were and where you are. It's the best place to be when you know where you're going. It's so much more comforting to know if you're making decisions based off of what you value. Like I said, this is like my number one first thing to do in the new year, first thing to do if you end up working with me, first thing to do if you're just at home and you need something to help put you right, if you're feeling a little bit unfocused and if you're feeling like you need some direction, back to basics, core values, download it. Okay? And I will see you all next week. Take care.